But your reaction was what, and what are you hearing, I think, more importantly, overseas today as well?
The reaction is what? What is this? Why is this happening?
Right.
Is this normal? That's a big reaction also. Specifically, is it normal to have two people from one side attack another person on Ukraine's side?
Meaning Vance and Trump versus...
Right, and it really was a fairly straightforward, especially for a Trump administration, straightforward discussion between two leaders until J.D. Vance jumped in.
Vance jumped in. Yeah, no, I get that. That's what I thought, too, when I was watching it. But I'm also curious if some people in Ukraine see this just, I've been using the word practical a lot because it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
Do they see this as, from a practical point of view, a strategic mistake or a problem created, making things worse on Zelensky's part? Do they think he hurt himself?
Yeah, I would say after we're in the third, this week is the third anniversary of the war. Things are really raw right now. We were expecting some other people to visit Ukraine. Keith Kellogg just visited last Thursday. He was at the Oval Office today. And things are getting really raw for Ukrainians in speaking with them. I was just in Ukraine a week and a half ago, and then at a major event here in New York City with the mayor's office, different events throughout the country. People are really feeling put upon by the language coming out of the Oval Office and different blogs and podcasters that Ukraine is corrupt, that Ukraine is no good. It wasn't coming out of the White House. That had come down, and we were working towards this agreement.
It did seem like we were setting up for an agreement today.
Yeah.
After what President Trump especially said yesterday.
Yeah.
His tone, his tune. So that's why today was surprising to me.
And that was the reaction in Ukraine also. There was a 180-degree difference from the ministers, sorry, I can't use the Ukrainian term, but when the cabinet met and President Trump said, I'm not interested in giving back territory, then he's sitting with Keir Starmer and he says, no, I want to help Ukraine get back territory.
I kind of wonder, though, if Zelenskyy handled it differently, right? So to your point, okay, let's say Vance starts it, okay, and he gets in there, and obviously that angered or triggered, you know, as the kids say, Zelenskyy, right? So he's like, he got angry for a moment. He says, "You've never even been to Ukraine," and he got worked up about it. If he handled that moment differently, though, could he have at least had himself a deal that would have been the best deal he could make now, versus now he leaves with nothing?
Well, it was less accusatory in my mind, more of a question, like, have you been to Ukraine, knowing that he hadn't been to Ukraine, and that's the number one thing that changes people's perspective on the war.
No,
if you go to Ukraine,
that's true
you have
about
a better
any,
understanding.
That's 100% true about any story. Like we know this as reporters, it's always better to go places, and because you understand what's actually happening.
That also goes along with Vice President Vance's stated political goal just in March of last year. He stated that his #1 ambition is to change the U.S. policy towards Ukraine.
Yeah, I know.
That's a political goal, and he was involved in that today.
The problem, though, for Zelenskyy now is he is getting what he wants to get. So he wants to get what he calls security guarantees. Let me play this clip real quick. We'll make this the last point. It's not like all the back and forth. This idea of security guarantees is clip number 12, guys, from the Oval Office. Let's listen.
That's why we will never accept just ceasefire. It will not work without security guarantees. Security, when we speak about security guarantees, when the Europeans are ready for contingents, they need USA backstop. If there will not be United States, we will not never have any contingents, strong contingents from the Europeans.
So that's the question. Is it Europe that fills that gap? Does he have to come crawling back to President Trump to legitimately fill that gap?
Europe has now not only given more aid to Ukraine, as we know, but also promised over $130 billion yet. The United States only has $5 billion outstanding that they've promised. So we already have on the table. It's just perspective what the United States can give. And we know Speaker Johnson said he's not interested in the budget right now.
So this idea that you think is a legitimate thought, Ukraine can get by in this, get to peace without U.S. support?
Ukraine is going to keep on defending its territory. When your ally decides to, as somebody in Ukraine mentioned, stab you in the back in the middle of a street fight, then you have to figure out what the next steps are. I think that President Trump made clear that he's still interested in signing that deal with rare earth minerals. I still think we're far away from the G7 summit and the NATO summit and finding out what's happening. But Ukraine is going ahead. What we know on the table right now is that the United States has not even promised as much as Europe right now. So we'll see who actually starts giving more aid in the coming year.
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.